Hello, music listeners, underground enthusiasts, and people who at some point in their lives thought they would be the one to solve the Zodiac Killer case. It's weekly songs time, and this week was jam-packed with a lot of really great songs to come out, so let's not waste any time. Let's just do it. Let's get into it. Let's just keep going. Let's just get started. Let's not talk. Let's just keep going. Starting the week off, we have 8485, which I pronounced as 8485 for a long time, which I felt bad about that I learned that it wasn't how it's pronounced, but then I felt better about when I learned that it was still okay to pronounce it that way. An emotional roller coaster of a day, to be honest. Personal Protocol has proven to be one of my favorite projects of this year, and so since its release, I've been pretty eager to hear more content from 8485, and 3 Cheers scratched that itch pretty well, and on Goreblog with production from Bode, and Glacier, 8485 crafts a pretty stuttering and pretty pop track. The general uses of glitches, heavily chopped vocals, and crushing sound design falls in line with the synthetic and digitized aesthetics 8485 typically adheres to, and I love it a lot as always. It feels overwhelming at some points of the track, but then at other times it feels very loose and organic. Even with the processed synths and explosive hits, it does kind of have that nice flow to it. The vocals on this are ethereal. They're so pretty. They kind of act as the force that ties all of this together, that keeps the gears turning throughout the production. And with some really pretty writing on this as well, 8485 continues to impress me with every single release. Skele has dropped Picturesque, and over the past couple months and since my interview with Skele has been steadily shifting to a slightly more folk and alternative sound, and on Picturesque, I think that he continues to explore this sound, but this time maintaining some of the earlier emo trap influence that you can hear on older songs. Vocally, the melancholic and destructive lyricism is pretty much about what I expect from a Skele track, and I can't help but love it every single time. I think that Skele has really done a great job of capturing emotion and boiling it down to its rawest, most vulnerable form. The imagery is great as always, and the vocal melodies sound great over this muddy emo trap percussion from Irby, broken up with these sharp hi-hats. It's catchy, it's sad, it's another sad Skele banger. What can I say? I guess that's what I can say. Moving on. Carbine dropped End Theory, and it has a sort of industrial pop sound, and that is the sort of foundation of Carbine's creative philosophy here, where it is such an interesting sound that I'm gonna kind of have a hard time getting bored of it, I would say. The sci-fi inspired beeps mashed together with the sort of wet dubstep inspired synths kind of tosses linear melodies aside and out the window in favor of a more controlled chaos approach. Even when more structured percussion comes in later in the track, it is essentially like putting a screen door on a submarine. It's a great experimental sound that Carbine sounds comfortable on vocally, which is probably just a feat itself, but the processed and tired vocals blend really well with the harsh sounds of the production. It's a cool little dichotomy that they've got going on here. Vocally, it's nothing new or incredibly inventive, especially in terms of something as out there and intense and brazen as matching the sort of intensity of the production, but otherwise, it still vocally sounds really great. I like Carbine singing on this a lot, and in terms of production, it is uncompromising and memorable. I'm very impressed. Mercykill dropped Tamagotchi, and the oppressive 808s, the roomy cymbals, and the saturated vocals on this almost borderline drown out this airy and sweet piano melody, but it breaks through just enough to create a little nice dynamic between all of the elements of the track, the harsher ones, and then this little piano melody. It's like a bossa nova melody accidentally wandered into like the making of a distorted boom bap track and just kind of decided to stick around. Mercy's relaxed flow on this sounds really great with the aforementioned crushing kicks and percussion. It's overwhelming and a bit of a muddy sound that Mercy's bars cut through really well with the help of the vocal mix. It's not an easy sound to pull off, but Mercy does make it look easy. I'm always gonna love Mercykill's approach to rapping and production. I can't help it. It's some of my favorite out there right now. I love it. 93 Feet of Smoke, Gen Z be like 93 feet of vape cloud, has dropped Why All My Angels Cry. This is a bit of a hazy rock track with 93 crooning far into the distance on this chorus. I've always been a fan of 93's sort of trademark dampened vocal mixes. I think they always sound great, but this does kind of take it to another level. The foggy and distant vocals that occupy most of this track create a super cool ambience within the droning guitar chords and the pounding percussion and the stuttering guitar melodies, and although this song sacrifices a bit of its structure for aesthetic, it does a great job to emphasize the style and aesthetics that 93 is going for here. And the song doesn't even really offer much lyrically apart from the chorus, but I don't really need it to. 93 gets the point across with a haunting chorus and maximalist percussion and repeating lines. I'm a big fan of this sound. Autumn is Ending has dropped Harvest Fest. Autumn is Ending has made a beginning of autumn track to commemorate the change of the season, and that is a concept that I can respect. The warm saturation of the guitar paired with the dampened vocal melodies definitely fits the aesthetics of the season, I would say, and I love the autumn-oriented lyrics. This is a lyrical concept that I find myself going back to in my own writing, so needless to say, I'm a little biased in that regard. I love how catchy it is, the gentle vocal melodies, detailed lyrics that are equally parts melancholy and comforting. Once again, I'm impressed by the instrumentation and the writing. Autumn is Ending has a great amount of control and it has a tactful approach to creating the instrumentation, to creating the melodies, and it's cute. It's a good song. I love it. How many times am I just going to end a review with I love it? I got to find out a way to start ending, start writing conclusions for these things. Moving on. supachefm has dropped It's Not You, It's You and Me, and the characterized soft approach to bedroom rock that supachefm typically employs pretty much pulls all of the best qualities of the genre and sort of cuts out the excess, and this song really isn't an exception to that approach. On a technical level, it's a pretty relaxed song. The vocals are not overmixed, and the instrumental is equally straightforward, and that is the charm of this song. That is why this song is so endearing, because it is not super demanding on a technical level, but supachefm's vocals and this good production really carries it a long way. I love the personal and conversational tone of the singing. The melodies and the harmonies are super sweet and blend nicely with the sort of indie percussion and the moody guitar tone. It's a pretty compact song in that regard. Catchy chorus, sweet sound, and sweeter lyrics. I'm also really enjoying the overall darker than normal tone on this track. I feel like supachefm typically adheres to a much brighter sound, and this is a cool little switch up. Guardin has dropped Half Bake, and Guardin's vocals on this are crisp, dude. They sound great. And I was pretty happy to see some CM Spark production. Guardin's past work on their beats has been pretty killer. Shout out RJ Payson as well. Guardin's trademark singing pairs really well with the blown out 808s and the bright jagged beeps of this production. It's a really cool sound. It's like wine and cheese, or wine and fish, or wine and steak. It really just depends on what kind of wine you're drinking. The writing on this track is just as consistent as I would expect it to be. At this point, it's kind of hard to find a newer Guardin track that isn't pretty much bulletproof. I think that the blend of older aesthetics with a brash and sort of shakier pop sound is a pretty good approach for Guardin to take. Songs like Centipede, Lying Awake at Night, and now Half Baked kind of prove this and make a good point for this case. I'll go ahead and say it. I love it. Anything's off, we have a new Swaine track with new toyz Van Gogh. You open a dictionary, you go to the word smooth, what are you going to find? The definition, of course, is going to be swaine. This song more so feels like a very confident stream of consciousness for Swaine. The relaxed flow paired with the bounce of the flows and the melodies screams how comfortable Swaine is. Even with the beat switch into a more slightly impactful sound, Swaine never once feels pressured to perform well, he just does. And I do love how this song is split into two with the beat switch and with the sort of theme switch in the title as well. I know that Swaine is done this a couple times, and I'm always pretty happy to see a maintained cohesion between the sections. Nothing feels too far removed from the initial sound, but they sound different enough to justify the switch, and as a result, Swaine makes a really cool split between the first and second half of the track. Killer bars, incredible wordplay, unbeatable flows, even Swaine's more spontaneous tracks hit pretty hard. Thank you for tuning into this week's weekly songs list. If you have listened to any of these songs already, let me know what you think in the comments, and if you haven't, then I hope that I have inspired you to go listen to them, go forth and conquer the landscape of music, and then come back to me and tell me how you feel about them. Catch me in the next video where one lucky subscriber buys me lunch. Bye.